There is a kind of memory that is not accessed by the rational mind, but which silently rules its most intimate impulses. Every orgasm you have ever had, especially those empty, hasty, lonely, or immoral, remains recorded in your body as a vibrational file. It is as if every past enjoyment leaves an echo, an energy trace that shapes how you enjoy it today, and also how weak you feel. The body does not forget who you enjoyed. Although your mind tried to erase faces, voices, and circumstances, your energy field keeps everything. There is a spiritual intelligence behind pleasure, and this intelligence records not only what happened, but how it happened. Each orgasm turns into a code, a vibrational signature that remains stored in the subconscious, influencing its future choices and sensations. Addiction, in fact, is not in the pleasure itself, but in the memory he has left. It is not the enjoyment that holds you, but the ghost of joy, the unconscious memory of that moment of escape, relief, illusion of connection. These old codes continue acting even when you don't realize. A smell awakens desire, a touch makes your body react, an image lights up a flame that seems impossible to control. But what is really lit is the old file being reactivated. The human brain has the ability to create sensory flashbacks, and these flashbacks are triggered whenever you are in times of weakness, loneliness, anxiety, or stress. It is as if the system said, "Let's go back to that moment where everything seemed better." And you, without realizing it, becomes hostage to your own history of pleasure. This is spiritual. This is deep. This is destructive. Each unconscious orgasm repeats in silence the emotional pattern of its injured childhood. Many men, especially those marked by rejection, abandonment, or emotional humiliation, use sexual pleasure as an unconscious reunion with the affection they never received. Cum becomes a form of anesthesia, a fake hug, a substitute mother. But all this is an illusion, and the more you repeat, the more you move away from the healing. You are not after pleasure. You are after orgasms that have already happened. You are trying to repeat something that has been filed as happiness, but actually weakened you. This cycle needs to be broken, because the emptiness you feel right after enjoying, that silence that comes like a shadow, is your soul trying to erase the error. It is the spirit trying to undo the trauma, but he can't while you repeat. To break free, you need to burn these memories. You need to tear these spiritual files as those who fall apart from curses. Because this is what they are, unconscious pacts with the forgetfulness of oneself. The way begins in consciousness, in the fast, in renunciation, and in the courage to face what was recorded in your body like a prison and finally turn it into power. Do you feel that something inside you is asleep? Lack of energy, ruined motivation, constant anxiety, and the strange feeling of being lost, even doing everything right? My name is Laert, and here at Gods of Semen, I show you what no one had the courage to reveal you. The true power of man begins when he stops wasting his essence. With years of study on male spirituality, behavioral neuroscience, and ancient energy dominance traditions, I found that seminal retention is not just a practice, it is a rite of passage. She transforms her body, lightens her mind, arouses her soul, and lights a fire that no addiction can put out. If you have tried to change your life, but keep feeling that something sabotaged you, if you wake up tired, you are distracted, you can't keep the focus, and feel disconnected from your purpose, it's because your vital energy is being drained, and it's time to take back what has always been yours. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I will show you can turn the key you've been looking for years. Here, you will understand why retain is to resist, and resist is reborn. Subscribe now to the Gods of Semen, activate the bell, and become part of an awakening brotherhood. This channel is a movement, and you are about to find out what is really done. Even without saying a word, your energy already speaks for you. Lust that has not been purified creates an invisible but powerful signature that spreads around it. It is like a spiritual perfume that denounces hidden addictions. The poorly resolved sexual energy sticks to your auric field like a ghost, a shadow that walks with you and everyone around, especially women, can feel. Women do not need to know you deeply to realize your weakness. They realize by the look, the way you move, the anxiety you can't hide. When your aura is contaminated by runaway desires, your whole body vibrates at the frequency of grace. It's like you are always asking for something, even in silence. And that, spiritually, repels. The shadow of lust appears in the eyes. And restless shine, a disconnected oscillation. Men, who do not dominate their own pleasure, carry a hidden supplication in their eyes. And that supplication manifests itself as shame or as excess. In both cases, it transmits imbalance. When you enter an environment, even before you open your mouth, your aura has already delivered the kind of man you are. Being addicted to pleasure is not just behavior. It is a spiritual identity that can be felt. What you do, secret, leaves visible marks in your posture, in your tone of voice, in your way of existing. Evil conducted sexuality reveals itself in gestures, unnecessary impulses, the constant attempt to assert itself through desire. All this speaks. All of this weighs. Its smell changes. Your skin emanates a different vibration. Men who live delivered to pleasure exude hormonal insecurity, even if they use expensive perfume. The voice loses strength. The posture bends. The body denounces what the soul hides. And women, even without rationally understood, test these men, not by the charm, but by control. They want to know, will he dominate or be dominated by me? The world responds to its inner frequency. If you vibrate shortages, attract manipulation. If you vibrate wishes, attracts emotional chaos. But if you transmute yourself, purify yourself, your presence changes completely. Lust begins to dissolve, and what emerges is a magnetic silence, a respect that precedes the word, a force that scares the unclean spirits and attracts the pure of heart. When lust is dissolved, even its shadow becomes sacred. You no longer need to conquer, you start to attract, not by appearance, but by presence. And his aura, once marked by hunger, now emanates fullness. The world realizes, people feel, and you finally cease to be a slave to desire to become a temple of inner dominance. There is a spiritual truth that few men have the courage to face. The pleasure of the past has not left. He remains within you. The people you joined sexually left something. And more than that, they took something. Each penetration was an invisible exchange, an energy fusion that, even years later, still vibrates in its field. You may not see, but you feel. People you have penetrated still live inside you, not in the form of memory, but as energy fragments. Each sexual act was an invocation of a soul within yours. This is why sometimes you feel the presence of someone in the room, even being alone. That's why certain smells, music, or dreams make your energy tremble. These connections remain open. The erotic dreams you have are not just fantasies. These are contacts, portals, the unconscious reactivation of ties that have never been broken correctly. Often you wake up sweaty, tired, drained, as if you had lived a spiritual battle during sleep. And that's right, you are being sucked by embodied memories in the form of emotional entities. Pleasure connects two bodies by invisible exchange lines. These lines can remain active for years. Each time you think of someone with whom you have sex, you reactivate the link. Each time you masturbate thinking about this person, you feed the connection. Each time you miss a body that has gone away, you are letting that energy continue to come inside you. Every woman you were left inside you, and took something too. It was not always love. It was often anger, trauma, insecurity, or even ancestral curse. Sexual intercourse is not just physical. It is a vibrational fusion ritual. When done unconsciously, he leaves scars. And it is these scars that become emotional weaknesses. You may be being rejected in the present for something that happened in the past. You may be feeling ashamed today because of an act of years ago. Sexual energy has memory, and it builds patterns. Repetition of failures, cycles of rejection, persistent loneliness, all may have been born of damn enjoyment, wrong delivery, an exchange made without spiritual protection. The depression that comes after orgasm can last days. But if ignored, it can become a chronic sadness that lasts years. Many men think they are sad for external causes, but the truth is that their souls have been broken in every moment of purpose without purpose. The enjoyment stole a piece, and no one taught how to recover. You may be living with a fragmented soul. Each superficial relationship, every porn video, each compulsive masturbation is an invisible blade cutting its spirit. Until you no longer know who you are, until you feel a tiredness that is not physical, an anguish that is not psychological, an emptiness that neither 1,000 pleasures fills. But there is an exit. It is possible to exorcise these sexual impressions. It is possible to clean the body and soul of the echoes of ancient pleasure. The first step is fasting, the fast of pleasure, conscious abstinence, not as repression, but as a recovery. Each day without cum, you rescue a part of yourself, and gradually, the past stops enjoying inside you. You are no longer a puppet of desire and reborn whole. When you stop pursuing external pleasure, a new universe begins to reveal yourself inside. This is when you understand. Desire is not your enemy. It is your raw material. The true spiritual transformation of man begins when he learns to transmute. When he finds out how to turn desire into domain. When the impulse is no longer escape and becomes creative force. This alchemy happens when seminal energy, instead of being wasted out, is conducted upwards. The semen, which was once ejaculated in exchange for seconds of relief, now rises as a liquid light to the brain. It is a sacred climb, a movement contrary to the culture of the fall. And as this energy rises, it lights dormant centers of intelligence, intuition, and magnetism. But this elevation does not happen by chance. It takes technique. It takes discipline. It takes breath. Breathing consciously during the impulse is a millennial art. It is the secret of the ancient masters, the yogis, the alchemists. You inspire as those who pull the flame of desire and expire as one who distributes this energy throughout the body. It is in this cycle that the impulse transmutes into consciousness. The brain, reprogrammed by these rituals, begins to desire spiritual pleasure. The source changes, the focus changes. You are no longer attracted to chaos and begins to seek silence, peace, the depth. Over time, the body is also reconditioning. Every 40 days of retention, a new energy architecture forms. Desire changes shape. Libido becomes leadership. And then something surprising happens. Creativity explodes. What was once spent on fantasies becomes ideas, inspirations, projects. You start to produce, write, create. It is as if the silenced lust of this place to an inner genius who was chained. The same fire that burned for pleasure now feeds its purpose. Do you feel you are here for something bigger? Are you tired of feeling stuck with patterns that weaken you while your soul cries out for liberation, power, and purpose? Then it's time to wake up. Alchemy of the Gods is the book that is guiding thousands of men along the way to transformation. Here, you will dive deeply into the mysteries of Kundalini, the secrets of crystalline oil, and the hidden journey of spiritual liberation. Powerful themes that are never revealed in traditional schools or religions. If you seek dominion about your energy, mental clarity, and spiritual ascension, this is the missing guide. Whether in the physical version for those who value contact with the sacred, the digital version for those who carry the temple with you, or in audiobook format to turn time into wisdom, knowledge is now within your reach. Guarantee your copy now. The link is in the description and the fixed comment. But first of all, I have a novelty that you didn't expect. I just launched the unprecedented audiobook, Semen Retention Success Path, the definitive key to unlocking your vital energy. With more than 2 hours of exclusive content, this material reveals the 6 essential pillars of seminal retention: restoring its inner strength, cutting the cycle of procrastination, raising your conscience, arousing your sacred virility, mastering your impulses clearly, and creating a new identity with purpose. This audiobook is not just information, it is guided transformation. It is voice-shaped energy reprogramming. And there is more. By purchasing the Semen Retention Success Path, you get 30% off the special ebook, The Art of Semen Retention for Men, a complete manual with 20 pages of advanced techniques for spiritual evolution, emotional balance, and reconnection with its highest purpose. To complete your journey, I invite you to become an official member of the Gods of Semen channel. In addition to supporting the continuity of this movement, members have early access to the most anticipated videos, receive priority responses in the comments, and also unlock exclusive content and benefits. Your transformation begins with a step. Click on the links, immerse yourself in this knowledge, and be part of a brotherhood that is awakening to true male power. Your presence changes. You start to attract pure magnetism. There is no need to prove anything. There is no need to look for looks. The world begins to orbit around it, not because you are better, but because you are full of yourself, whole, clean, strong. This force does not come from muscles or status. It comes from the domain, from the inner silence that radiates respect. And over time, their sexual habits become sacred. You do not surrender for need. You do not seek bodies by empty. You choose wisely, with ritual, with conscience. Sex is no longer pleasure and becomes power, identity. Each choice builds the new version of who you are. A man who is no longer commanded by instinct, but by the spirit. And then you understand. True pleasure is not to surrender to the impulse. It is to master it. It is to feel the intensity of desire, and yet remain whole. This is pleasure. This is victory. This is royalty. To transmute is to stop being a slave and become king. That's when man is no longer an addict and becomes an alchemist. What was once sacred today was trivialized. The pleasure, which should be an offering between two conscious beings, has become a product. And you, a modern man, are the main target. There is a billionaire industry that profits from its fall. That needs your addiction, who lives on his enjoyment. Porn is the new temple of male sacrifice, and you have been the offering. This industry doesn't just want your attention, it wants your soul. Each porn video is a modern spell disguised as entertainment. Not only excites, he reprograms. It destroys the image of the sacred and inserts inversion codes. Codes that make you feel an animal, that make you forget that you are king, that make you become addicted to what empties you. The easier the enjoyment, the weaker the spiritual warrior. The man who was emptied every day cannot fight, cannot resist. He may seem strong on the outside, but his will is broken. He can no longer say no, no focus. It has no energy. He drags himself, gets ready, and thinks he's just enjoying life. But in fact, it is being used. Celebrities and influencers sexualize their bodies to keep you distracted. With each post, with each video, they feed a disguised freedom addiction. But the intention is one: keep you stuck in the cycle. A cycle where you consume, ejaculate, and forget yourself. And the next day repeats. You have become a client of your own weakness. What few have told you is that your sperm is worth more than your money. He is life. He is power. He is presence. The energy you throw away in minutes could feed your mind for weeks. But the system does not want full men. He wants consumers, slaves, men who pay for pleasure because they have lost their purpose. Each time you enjoy without awareness, the system wins. He profits from his dopamine, his distraction, his absence of spirit. Pornography is not just a product, it is a weapon, a silent war against virility, an engineering to steal their inner glory from men. Society taught you to seek pleasure, but never taught you to seek purpose. They made you believe that freedom is always satisfying, but the true freedom is to master its own instinct. Being virile today is a revolutionary act, a cry against the culture of disposal, a protest against the spiritual emptying of man. You are being attacked by your own weakness. But if you get up, if you renounce, if you fast, you become dangerous for this system. For a man who abstains, who retains, who transcends, is an invincible man. His abstinence becomes an invisible holy war, a spiritual resistance, a path back to the throne that was taken you, a rebirth, a call, and a victory. There is a point of the journey where man, dominated by pleasure, forgets who he is. He loses his clarity, the direction, the inner name he carried when he still dreamed loudly. And all this happens subtly, sneaky. Like a slow poison, excessive enjoyment erases layers of the spirit, until only a tired body remains, given to repetition. It is in this cycle that warriors are lost. Constant pleasure nullifies identity. A man who enjoys every day does not build anything. He does not lead, does not impose, does not remain. The world begins to treat it as if it were invisible. This is no coincidence. The energy that should support it is being dumped on the floor. His presence, once firm, becomes weak. His voice, once clear, becomes insecure. And its mission, once alive, is forgotten. The spiritual name of a man, what distinguishes him, who protects him, who guides him, begins to disappear when he surrenders to addiction. The words lose strength. The gestures lose focus. The countenance loses light. And then the world looks at him and doesn't recognize him, as if reality itself said, "You betrayed who was born to be." The warrior's eyes become turbid. They no longer see far away. They no longer glimpse future. They are always attached to the next costume, the next screen, the next enjoyment. He lives in function of the immediate, and the immediate is the greatest enemy of purpose. No man builds an empire with a drowned mind in cheap stimulus. No king rules with the spilled semen. The ancients knew that. That's why they fast, so they kept their energy as a treasure, because they knew that each drop was a brick in the construction of fate. They didn't waste. They channeled, and when they looked into someone's eyes, they were respected. His presence spoke before the words, because they were full of themselves, not empty inside. Today, the world celebrates the fall of the warrior. Award weakness, normalizes delivery. The man who resists is seen as abnormal. What it retains is judged. But it is precisely this judgment that reveals the way. When the world rejects you by your inner strength, it is because you started to remember who it is. It takes silence to hear the inner name. Abstinence is needed to recover the vision. Sacrifice is needed to regain what was lost. The man who stops excessive cum begins to miss himself. And this longing pushes him back on the way. He begins to remember of dreams, the symbols, the promises made in silence. And then, step by step, he returns. And with him, the name comes back. Return to presence. Return the shine in the eyes. Back to courage. Not because the world has changed, but because it is no longer a victim of their own oblivion. The warrior, now awakened, does not need applause. He carries in himself the force of 1,000 rebirths. And that strength, no one can take it.